Okay, so um, so we've only got three stories today, but they're pretty big stories. So I mean, it kind of evens itself out in that respect. So the first story we're going to do today is about a film that just came out this last week. Okay, and I know Dad said you saw it the other day and you thoroughly enjoyed it, and I'm talking about Elemental. And Elemental is one of those things that it's a hard it's tough to see this movie actually do poorly because it looks fantastic. I want to go see it, um, and it looks like a good movie. That being said, I think that let me bring that back up there. But that being said, I think that I I want to go see this. Like I said, it looks fun. But animation is one of those things that people are starting to be trained now to not go to the not go to the movies to see animation because of what happened. So there was a piece in the THR, okay, and um, basically it comes out with the official numbers for Pixar and the Elemental. So it said Elemental box office debacle. Pixar opens to record worst 29.6 million. Pixar's movie about a rat with an ambition of becoming an acclaimed French chef started in its box office run with a slow simmer when opening to a less than flavorable $47 million in 2017. Pundits were quick to pronounce Pixar had botched the recipe in a rare mix, but skeptics were proven wrong when Ratatouille began boiling over on its way to earning $623 million at the worldwide box office. For for decades, the animation, okay, studio backed by the late Steve Jobs bought but by Disney could do no wrong. Before the most unlikely scraps turned out to be the perfect stews again and again before commercial and critical hits at the box office buffet. That all changed in the past several years, capped by the dismal debut of Elemental over the last weekend. The movie debuted a parable about immigration and getting along, bombed with a $29.6 million debut domestically. The worst 3-day weekend start in the company's history behind Pixar's first film back in 1995, which was Toy Story, of course, which earned 29.1 million over the 3-day Thanksgiving weekend. A venerable fortune back at that time, when adjusted for inflation, Toy Story's opening haul would be north of 50 million. Moreover, Toy Story was a groundbreaking success that catapulted Pixar to fame and created an unparalleled brand. Elemental's projected 4-day domestic opening over the long Juneteenth holiday is $33.4 million. The failure of it galvanized moviegoers, leaving Pixar stuck at a crossroads. For years, former chief John Lasseter bulked to becoming a franchise factory. Toy Story and Cars were the exception. But family picks just aren't based on known IP or proving hard to eventualize consumers that were trained during the pandemic, excuse me, to stream new Pixar films in the home, which was a controversial policy orchestrated by former Disney chief Bob Chapek. Even last summer's Toy Story spin-off Lightyear, which did a which had a traditional run, couldn't break through, and it topped out at a mere $226.4 million. I enjoyed Lightyear. I mean, I've only seen it the once, but the time I did see it, I enjoyed it. One ray of hope is Elemental earned an A cinema score and a stellar score on Post Track, which could result in legs at the box office. It likely will score well with audiences overseas, opening in a handful of markets over the weekend, including South Korea, where it beat The Flash. In December of last year, most of Hollywood wrote off DreamWorks Animation and Universal's Puss in Boots: The Last Witch, when the threequel opened to a mere 12.4 million domestic. But the family pick had 9 lives playing in theaters for months and earning $480.9 million at the box office worldwide. Whether a movie is based on original IP that actually could do that remains to be seen. On the Disney lot in Pixar, where Pete Docter is in charge, there's plenty of sure to be discussion about Elemental and what it means about original versus IP at the studio. Next year, Pixar has the original film Ilo set for releases in theaters, as well as an Inside Out sequel. Any lessons learned from Elemental's miss will take time to implement, as course corrections are particularly complicated in the animation space, considering these movies may take many years to make. And studio insiders say there would be no franchises without original swings. Sometimes Pixar has excelled what makes it excel for decades. So basically, it goes on and it talks about, in hindsight, it's no surprise why Bob Iger used his first earnings call as the CEO, returning CEO of Disney, to tease Toy Story, Frozen, and Zootopia. The last two are from Walt Disney Animation. And basically saying the feature films are how we are, quote, leaning into an unrivaled brands, end quote. He went on to say in the call, the event nature of Pixar films, even original IP, isn't what it used to be. However, new leadership seems to be taking right some of the wrongs. So yeah, basically, it's going on to touch on all these different things about Pixar, and I think there's something to be said about this. Number one, okay, the fact that Chapek actually put these on streaming, Turning Red and Luca and all these others, did not help as much. Okay, it just didn't. Number two, I think you have to have a hit in order for people to come back. Okay. Um, Lightyear it was in that franchise type of thing, but you know, even if the story wasn't that good, like I said, I enjoyed it. Okay. But it's one of those things where I think that they need there's nothing wrong with this film. Now, I haven't seen it, but from what all indications, there's nothing wrong with this film. It just had the bad. It was a victim of circumstance, in the respect that it came out the same day as The Flash. That's it. That is it. It was a victim of circumstance because we all saw how The Flash did. It bombed. It only made $56 million opening weekend, and there were a lot of things that go through that. But there was nothing wrong with Pixar. The fact that Chapek, it's touched on in the piece, the fact that Chapek did this really hurt not only Pixar itself, but animation in itself, really. Okay? And I understand why, but they need good films to just knock it out of the park, and that's how they're going to get people back. It's not impossible to get those audiences back, not at all. But it's going to take time. I mean, look at what Across the Spider-Verse did. I'm not saying that's not good animation. Okay, the animation looks fabulous. I'm just saying that it's going to take time, and they can get back to where they were, because I guarantee you, as soon as that new Toy Story movie comes out, boom, they're back. They're going to blow up, or Inside Out, or Frozen, or Zootopia. It's going to blow up because it's recognizable. Okay. And this is where, it was touching on in the piece. Original IP is so hard to sell now. It is so hard to sell because everybody wants to see something that they know. Everybody, whether it's Spider-Man and Across the Spider-Verse, whether it's Indiana Jones, whether it's Star Wars, whether it's they don't want to pay $14, $15 and roll the dice and say, "Ooh, is this going to be good? I don't know any of the characters. I don't know the story behind it. I don't know who the villain is." But they'll do it in a heartbeat for anything else. So, but I will say one thing: original stories are important because those are life stories. I'm not saying there can't be life stories in IPs. I'm not saying that, but it's you're more there for the character than you are the story or the lesson behind it, if you will. Okay. The few things I got out of just watching the trailer were friendship, love, and it doesn't matter who you are. Look at this picture it's a perfect thing. You have fire and water. When opposites attract. So I think that Pixar can get there. They just need a couple of good films to get them there. So, anyways, guys, what do you think about Elemental and how well or how poorly it did? Did you go see Elemental? I know Dad did. Did you like the film? Are you going to go back and see it again? Let me know your thoughts down in the comments, and I'll get back to everybody.